We are pleased to have Gregg Berhalter in studio with us, head coach of the United States men's national team. We are 200 days away from your opening match in the World Cup. And there are stages to this, right? You got to qualify. You did that. Then you got to find out who's in your group, and there's one team we don't know for sure, but you know essentially who the opponents will be. And now you've got the 200 days between now and competing. And given that there isn't the run-up with the camp because it's November, which creates some interesting scenarios, I just wonder, how do you make use, Gregg, of your time from now until you're on the pitch competing?
Yeah, it's a good question. The first thing is we're watching every single game these guys play, really trying to understand what type of form they're in. Second part of it is we will have a camp in end of May and June for 2.5 weeks. Mm-hmm. That will be a great period to work with the team. We have another camp in September, and then from there, basically it's a week before the tournament the guys come into camp.
And given that's unusual, because typically you'd have that run-up right before the event begins, but because of the November schedule, and you've got people from all over the world, how, in that last little bit of time, how do you make that time really count to figure out what you've got?
It's not going to be done in that week.
It can't be, right?
No, it can't be. So what we've done, last year we were together for 160 days. Mm-hmm. We've really invested the time. It's a close group of guys. Now it's the foundation's been laid, and now it's about the final touches in June, September, and then in that week to get ready to compete for the World Cup.
38 different players used in qualifying, correct?
Yeah.
And the roster will be 23, but maybe I think that this expectations that FIFA will expand it to 26, yes?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so you still got some decisions to make. You still have some things to figure out.
Definitely.
How high on the list of figuring things out is who your keeper will be?
You know, that will be part of it, but it's going to be who's in form, who's getting game time, who's performed well in June and September, who has past track record with us. I mean, we're not just going to ignore all of that because we're going to the World Cup. Okay. Guys have built up credit, and they deserve to have that credit. So, you know, there will be a number of questions. During qualifying, it was really about next man up mentality, and we had to rely on the next guy because of these 3-game windows, because of injuries, because of travel. And the guys did a great job of responding to that.
How did you, not do, because it's done now, the job of getting in's done, but how did you, Gregg, in the midst of qualifying, take whatever noise about you specifically? Because I find it fascinating. People have, you were a target, right? If things don't go correctly, people have got a lot to say. How do you take noise and just leave it at that? It's noise. You know what you're doing, right? I wonder what that process for you personally was like.
Well, personally, it's about, when I'm in camp, it's about focusing, and it's about focusing on the moment. Sometimes, you know, if you're worried about the past too much or you're worried about the future too much, your mind starts to wander, and it's really being about how can I be the best possible coach right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that helped the group. I know it helped me, certainly, to shut out the noise. And in the end, our goal was to qualify, and we did that with the youngest team ever. And
that's the one of the words I wrote down, I'm circling it now, is runway. My guy Twellman pointed out when you got in, look, they're in, great. But let's look at how young they are, and let's look at not just this, but 26, home game, even to 30, right? Like this is a long window of time for this core to really put their mark on the world game. And that runway, how do you define runway, and how much of the World Cup is part of that runway in being part of a process that's not just singular in this particular World Cup, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, I understand. It is a process, and it is about getting the guys experience and developing their game at the international level to be able to win. But we're also American, and we know what this is about. And, you know, we're going to have high expectations for ourselves. And then you know better than anything. You just said your favorite sport was college basketball. Right. Once you get in, it's single elimination past the group stage, anything can happen. Sure. Why can't you win? Why can't you beat the next team?
I love it because I was telling you this off air, not only do I not like, I can't stand the idea of, oh, a team has nothing to lose. That's garbage. They have the exact same thing to lose as the team with more expectation or more experience. So sort of it's the why not us sort of mentality. How does this very young team embrace the idea of, let's go be the best version of us that we can be?
Right, so collectively we're young, but you also have guys that are playing at the highest level. And in their club situations, they have to win every game they play in.
Sure.
So they're used to that expectation. And then soccer's a crazy enough game. When it's 11 players against 11 players, anything can happen. So our focus is going to be, how do we get out of the group? Right. Once you're out of the group, single elimination, how do you keep moving? How do you keep moving forward?
I'm going to date myself here, but whatever. I mean, I'm older than I used to be. I grew up here in D.C. back in the day when it was the Washington Diplomats, okay? And that was an era when an aging Johan Cruyff would come play here, and that was a big deal. Well, now you have Americans who are being exported to play around the world at the very highest level. So I guess you sort of just spoke to it. Yeah, we can be young, but it's a talented young bunch. So this is a long-winded way of getting to a final idea, which is success and what it looks like for you. The vision of that is what? Oh,
that's a tough question. But we certainly have to get out of our group. That's what our first focus is. And then to me, it's going to be about, you know, how do we play our best game to keep moving on? And if we don't move on and we played our best game, we'll be able to live with that.
I buy it.
Hedging a little?
No. I mean,
it's honest.
I have no reason to doubt what you're saying, but I think you spoke to it earlier, that there's a passion for this sport and this men's national team that also comes with expectation. But I think that got knocked down a bit with what happened in 18, right?
Yes.
And so you recalibrate, but now once you get there, they're going to say, we want to see some sort of progress, right? That represents progress to them. And maybe what they see as progress, what you see as progress, I don't know. How do you marry those visions?
Well, I think that our DNA as Americans is winning.
Yep.
When we watch the Olympics, what are we looking for?
Win a gold medal and be on that top stand and hear the anthem.
We're not looking for PBs. We're looking for gold medals.
Right.
And I understand that's the fabric of who we are as Americans, and that's a beautiful thing. So for us, we want to go there, and we want to get out of our group, and we want to keep moving from there.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.